Well, hello there, friendos. How are you doing today? I'm doing just peachy keen, thank you for asking. I was wearing this outfit because I felt really pretty in it, and I like to use it for my little sermon video. But then I was just like, hey, why not just keep wearing it while I do some talking? I thought that would be nice. So I decided to, let's go for a little ride to do things. Let's go walk around and things and stuff. Yeah. Today, I'm going to be talking about a hymn to Devi, or, the female aspect of God, Mahadevi. Or, well, basically, God in, like, as represented as a female. I've always thought this was kind of cool. And, I rather like the idea of God being a lady, or, like the Shakti stuff. I guess I am technically a Shakta because I frequently worship God in the form of a lady, in the form of Ma Kali. She is my Ishta, after all. She is my favoritist. And I have here a little bit of something from the Rig Veda. And if you know anything about the Rig Veda, it's one of the oldest texts we have, and it's the oldest part of the Vedas. And I thought that this was a pretty neat thing. I was also listening to Swami Sarvigananda talking about this the other day, and he mentions that, you know, most of our understanding, most of the spirituality we have today, in terms of like Hinduism and stuff like that, it comes from, something very similar to this. And I thought that was pretty neato. Or at least it's all like there, it's all present in one form or another. So I figured I would talk about it, and this is the Devi Suktam. It is part of the Rig Veda, like I said, and I'm not even going to bother trying to recite the Sanskrit. I'm not good with that. My tongue goes blah 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 blah, when I try to recite the Sanskrit. I mean, some of it I can do, but a lot of it does not come out quite right, especially when it's like long sentences and stuff like that. When you got to do like longer portions of it, it just I don't personally think it's all that great for me to attempt to do it. So instead, I'm just gonna go ahead and read the English translation. And for context, the lady who's talking in this, she is a female rishi. She is someone who has realized Brahman, and that's pretty cool. And apparently, from what I understand, her dad was also a rishi. So that's pretty neat, runs in the family. I mean, just imagine just like having a family, but also like, realizing Brahman. So you have just like a very long realization of Brahman that just goes on and on and on and on and on. I mean, I guess if you're Brahmin, you get to realize that you're Brahmin all the time. So that's pretty neat. Puppy! Hey, puppy. Other puppy. So, I rather like that. But, you know, I was just thinking, a woo. Well, I wasn't just thinking a woo. Well, now I guess I was thinking a woo, but, that wasn't my main thing. My main thing wasn't a woo. Ooh woo. Instead, I was thinking I will get to this grace up here, and then I will start by reading the first little tidbit here. The Rig Veda is basically just a really long text of hymns, which I think is pretty cool. I like hymns. The Rudra is 11 in number, and she lists them all here. They're kind of like storm deities, the Vasus, the Adityas, basically all of these different kinds of deities. The Vasudevas, these are including all these are including the different things, but they're including things like Indra, who was like the king of the gods back in like Vedic times, Yama, like the king of the dead. There's Vishnu. There's all kinds of different deities here. But she's saying here that these are but my diverse manifestations. In me are present Mitra, Varuna, Indra, Agni, and the twin. I'm gonna try this one. Asvin, Kumaras. I don't know how to say that exactly. I'm sorry. In me are present the Somadeva, the presiding deity of the Soma rasa, the slayer of enemies, Sattva, Pusa, and Bhaga. I offer merits to Yajna to my devotees who prepare the Soma rasa and please the gods through oblations and in the sacrificial fire. I lord over the whole universe. I am supreme erudition. I am the first venerable deity in all sacrificial roles. I offer prosperity. I am present in all beings in various forms. All gods and devotees venerate me everywhere. So right off the bat, something I find very interesting to this about this is that it's a lady saying this, which in a lot of ancient societies, the idea of a lady being like all powerful and godlike is a little weird, man. It's a little weird. I mean, yeah, you did tend to have like certain female deities, and ooh, that's really pretty. Female deities and things like that. But this is a woman saying that she is in essence the ultimate godhead. She is the representation of all reality. She is Brahman. That's pretty awesome. And the other thing that's awesome about this is that she's pointing out that all these different deities, like in the Vedic times, they worshipped all these different kinds of deities for different rituals, and they performed all these different kind of different rituals, but they are all just representations. They are all within her. It's just like a gigantic tree with its branches, and I think that's just like really cool. But she's also saying that she's not just the deities; she's also all life. She's all her own devotees. She's the fire and the sacrifice to the fire. Because they there's often like throwing butter into like a fire as a sacrifice, as an offering to God. Now we're gonna move to the next part here. She's also saying, and I think this is interesting in the last line here, all gods and devotees venerate me everywhere. So like no matter what like deities people are praying to, ultimately they are praying to her, and by her we mean Mahadevi. We mean the great goddess. So it doesn't matter if you're praying to, in this case we'll just say, like if you're praying to God and you're using terms like Allah, or if you're praying to God and you're praying to something like Athena, or you're praying to like anything else, it all ultimately goes back to the Mahadevi. It all ultimately goes back to God, capital G, God. The being who feeds himself, who sees, who hears what is told, and who sustains life, only owes it to my grace and powers. One who fails to perceive me as the guardian of the sensory organs and life force lives a dissipated life. O glorious friend, individual soul, listen to me. I am telling you about the supreme knowledge, which can be gained through loving eagerness. I have myself expounded this knowledge of the absolute Brahman, which is venerated both by men and gods. I make him great, whomso I desire. I make him Brahma, creator, or Risa, no, or Rishi. It was thrown out there because in this case they're spelling it RSI, but I guess it's Rishi. You can say Rishi or Rishi. Knower of the transcendental knowledge, or an erudite scholar. I used to provide a bowstring to Rudra to slay the demon who defies Brahmana. I wage war to protect the mankind. I have access both to the mundane world and the world beyond. So these are some pretty big claims, obviously. But what she's part of the reason I wanted to point all this out too, is because the idea of it all being connected to something, and they're all coming ultimately from the same source and all being the same thing, is something that I personally find very interesting. And there's a couple more verses, so we'll go through these. I have procreated the firmament, stationed on the crest of the earth, the supreme cosmic consciousness, which is the center of the pervasive intelligence, is my yoni. And yoni in this case does mean vulva, which which is at the center of this pervasive intelligence, is my yoni, and for that alone I have entered into all beings, all worlds, and as such I am present in all forms, moreover physically, or by my elusive existence, I permeate through this world. While creating the whole universe, I blow myself through it like a wind. I have transcended the world and the firmament by dint of my powers, and verily, I am the universe. But if you really think about like everything that's being said here, it's pretty amazing because, in a lot of ways, this is Advaita. This is like all of Advaita is summed up in just a couple of phrases here, or well, like not necessarily the methods, but like the idea, like the idea of Brahman, this one thing that is present through all life, through all beings, is in the universe. This great tree, like I said, the trunk of its existence, the very ground of existence is God. And in this case, we're talking about it as being like this Mahadevi. We're talking about it being this female personification, but she is all things, the divine mother, the holy mother of all things throughout all time, in all places. Like the trees are her, this these stones are her, this horse is her, I'm her, you're her, we're all her, and it's all together. Like we are all a part of this much greater thing. We are all in essence the we're all connected by this. We're all connected by Brahman. We all are Brahman. There is also like no real separation here. That's like part of what's being said here. And I think part of what makes me really like this too is the end line here where it says, while creating the whole universe, I blow myself through it like a wind. I have transcended the world and the firmament by dint of my powers, and verily I am the universe. So, if you think about like the realizations involved here and all the things that this entails, all the things that this means, like, as an example, what is there to fear if ultimately you are Brahman? And if you're already Brahman, and this is something that's actually very interesting to me as a concept, is like, in a lot of ways, we explain all this with things like saying Maya and ignorance. Like, we are these, but we're ignorant of it. So there's like this bondage over us and we don't realize it, or maybe we do realize it and we're trying to get away from that. But if you really think about it, ultimately you're Brahman right now. It's kind of like the whole idea of like in Kashmiri Shaivism, like you are Shiva right now. You're not like you don't have to do anything to become Brahman. You're not like doing anything to change like what you are. Ultimately, you already are that. And maybe you're trying to see through ignorance, but you're already Brahman. And I think it's very interesting because, here she's talking about both being like Brahman without characteristics, the very underlying nature of all things, the very like tapestry of reality. But she's also talking about being like the personal god. She's talking about being like Indra and Rudra and Soma Devi or Soma Deva, and like all of these different things. She is both at the same time, and that's one of the things that's like so interesting to me about like Brahman, is that Brahman and Mahadevi, like, it is the baseline of all reality. It is impersonal in that sense, but you can also communicate with it. You can also like have a relationship with Brahman. You can have a relationship with Brahman in the form of like Vishnu or Shiva or Allah or Yahweh or Yeshua or any of these numerous things, or like in my case Makali. Like this one, it's like only 8 verses long, but it expounds so much in such a short period of time. And you think about it, like this is in the Rig Veda, like in like the one of the oldest texts we have, like, and there is some debate about how old the Rig Veda actually is. Scholars tend to date it like 3700 years ago. I believe it's like generally dated to around 1750 BCE. So, you think about like this incredibly profound thought that goes through just like all of reality, like just like pointing out that like we are all connected and we are all like ultimately, Brahman is it's pretty amazing to think about because in a lot of ways we tend to think of like this, or some people tend to think of this as like kind of coming through like Advaita Vedanta and stuff like that. But no, no, no. The core, the fundamental of this teaching goes all the way back to the Rig Veda, and I would probably argue that, well, this is more of a personal belief, so take this with a grain of salt. But to me, it makes a lot of sense that this is probably not the first time this was articulated. And in fact, it was probably articulated well before it was ever written down to various different people, different rishis, various different sages and shamans and things like that. In even ancient times, were able to see that we are all, ultimately connected and all ultimately part of the same greater existence, and then like also able to see that the true heart of existence is, existence, consciousness, bliss. Like, think about the joy of realizing your connection with the whole universe. And I've had some very interesting experiences along those lines where you just kind of see everything as just kind of one, and like everywhere you look you just, even if it's only brief, you just see, oh, it's all one, and it's so very beautiful. And I personally like this one, of course, because I am a very big fan of the representation of God as female. But of course, ultimately God is not, Brahman is not actually female or male or anything like that. It's beyond all those and also encompassing all those at the same time. That's like the sheer unbridled beauty of it, like that's the real thing about it, is it includes all things, and we get to be that. We are that. We just don't realize it. And we get to play a part in this big divine Leela. We get to see all these things at the same time, and just once again, just in such a short, in such a short text, expounding all of this basically is just beyond amazing to me. And like so much of the Rig Veda is just like text, like for how, like talking about the proper hymn to do when you're like making like a sacrifice to Indra, or Vasu, or whomever. And then like all of a sudden it's just like, hey, you want to be smacked with some knowledge, and then just smacks you with the knowledge, just a big old knowledge smack. Wata! It's just absolutely stunning to really think about, like, and all of the implications that are here. Obviously, you could read a lot more Advaita Vedanta philosophy, or even like some Sufism, or a wide variety of other things, and kind of get into what does all of this really mean, and like more about like not just like, okay, so this is what you're telling me, what does this imply, etc., etc. But like this is just like such a nice little erudite beginning, just a nice little, but here's a little package. Here's a little package of truth. Hope you wanted some truth today. And like think about it, like, man, you're a kitty. You're a kitty. I'm a kitty. We're all kitty. We're all Brahman together. We're all these things together, and it's just quite wonderful. And like, and these people, even back then, were experiencing like all of these, excuse me, all of these ultimate things, even back then, and they've just been kind of like refining, in some sense, kind of refining some of these methods and coming up with like different ways to get to the same result, etc., for like all of this time. And it's just absolutely wonderful, and I wanted to share this. And I love the just how easy it is to look at this and be like, oh, okay, you know um like I can just have somebody read this and it's like, oh, so is this the whole truth? I go, no, that's just like the beginning, don't worry, we have more to get into. But like, it really is just, I think, quite wonderful, and I just wanted to really share that with you guys. And I just sometimes think about like, ooh, mannequins, and sometimes I just think about like all of the beauty of like, like I said, looking at God in the female form, And this is just a part of like, hey, if you're a shot, if you want to maybe worship God in the female form, you have things like this, but you also have like I said, Indra and all these other things, but you also have like Shiva and so much more. It's just so very wonderful, and I just thought it was so worth sharing, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I don't know, but before I wrap up, I'm gonna just read it one more time, and some of it I was kind of skipping over the names because there's a lot of names here that I have a hard time saying, but you know, take that in mind. And this is just called the Devi Suktam, and you can find it online pretty easily, actually. So I'm just gonna read it through one more time. The Rudras, the Vasus, the Adityas, the Vaisadevas are but my diverse manifestations. In me are present Mitra, Varuna, Indra, Agni, and the twin Avishmas. Ashvin Ikumaras, I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. In me are present Somadeva, the slave enemies Tatsva, Pusa, the Bhaga. I offer my merits to Yajna to my devotees. I offer the merits of Yajna to my devotees who prepare Somarasa and please God through oblations and sacrificial fire. I lord over the whole universe. I am supreme erudition. I am the first venerable deity in all sacrificial rites. I offer prosperity. I am present in all beings in various forms. All gods and devotees venerate me everywhere. The being who feeds himself, who sees, who hears what is told, and who sustains life only owes it to my grace and powers. One who fails to perceive me as guardian of the sensory organs and life force lives a dispassated life. Oh, glorious friend, individual soul, listen to me. I am telling you about the supreme knowledge which can be gained through loving eagerness. I have myself expounded this knowledge of the absolute Brahman, which is venerated both by men and gods. I make him great, whom I make him great, whomso I desire. I make him Brahma, creator, or Rishi, knower of traditional knowledge, of transcendental knowledge, or an erudite scholar. I used to provide the bowstring to Rudra to slay the demon who defiles Brahmana. I wage a war to protect mankind. I have access both to the mundane world and the world beyond. I have procreated the firmament station on the crest of the earth, the supreme cosmic consciousness, which is at the center of all pervasive knowledge, of all pervasive intelligence, is my yoni. And for that alone I have entered into all beings, all worlds, and as such I am present in all forms, whatsoever physically or by my elusive existence I permeate through this world. While creating the whole universe, I blow myself through it like the wind. I have transcended the world and the firmament by dint of my powers, and verily I am the universe. I just find that very beautiful. And hopefully you enjoyed me talking about it, and maybe you'll look it up and take a look at it. I think that would be pretty cool. But for right now, I just wanted to share that, and I hope that you're all having an absolutely wonderful day, and maybe you can think about it and think about this kind of stuff, and maybe it'll bring you some good peace and bring you to better knowledge. And God willing, I hope you're all blessed with great knowledge and great peace at heart. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And that's just all I wanted to say for right now. Thanks. Have a great one.